What's up, everybody?
Hey, what's up, my peoples?
Like behind the art, baby. We are here for a special edition episode.
Oh
Man,
yeah,
see,
oh yeah, oh yeah.
tell the people what it's about today.
Listen, man, I'm so excited about today. We're gonna take a turn, right? Y'all know how we do. Y'all know how we always have our artists on and different folks, man. Today though, because we understand, man, there's some information, there's some knowledge that we have to get as a community. So we dug deep right in here in our own community right here in Spartanburg. And news, I believe we found a gem. I believe we found a true gem, and we're gonna dive into real estate, family law, and estate planning. If you don't know about that, if you don't know how essential it is, make sure you tune in. Make sure you're sharing with everybody. News, who we got, man? Who we got, man? Who we got?
The one and only Krystal W. Smith. And she is the
Okay.
founder and owner of K Laws LLC, a real estate, family law, and estate planning law firm located in the heart of downtown Spartanburg.
We
Yeah,
got it.
right here in downtown
One and only
Spartanburg.
Crystal.
Crystal obtained her Bachelor of Arts degree in history from Norfolk State University and earned her Juris Doctor degree from Western Michigan University, Thomas
Mm.
and Cooley Law School. Crystal is licensed to practice law in both South Carolina and Michigan. Prior to opening K Laws LLC, Crystal served as the managing attorney at South Carolina Legal Services in Spartanburg. As a civil legal aid attorney, Crystal devoted her legal career to representing low-income families, victims of domestic violence, and senior citizens in civil matters such as divorce, custody disputes, adoptions, as well as defending evictions, foreclosures, and other property disputes. Crystal serves on the executive board of the Spartanburg NAACP and on the South Carolina Board House of Delegates for the Seventh Circuit. Crystal enjoys Zumba, long walks with her dog Apollo, and spending time with her husband, family, and friends.
All
Man,
right, man. Listen. That's that. She got a lot of official statuses with her. I like that, man. That shows that she has done her due diligence. That shows that y'all know, man, she is going to give us some good information. When we get back, man, right after this quick intro, the next person you're going to see is none other than Krystal Smith. I hope y'all ready. This is Elephant Group. We are Life Behind the Art. Yep.
let's go. Crystal,
Hello.
Hey, good evening.
good evening.
How are you?
Doing well. How about you guys?
Listen, we are extremely excited about having you on today. We've been just hyping you up because we know all the information that you have. Just talking with you briefly, just backstage, we're seeing how passionate you are about our subject matter for today. So thank you for today.
Thank you for the lovely introduction. I appreciate it.
Well, you deserved it.
Talking about information that is really important to the community, especially right now. We talk about estate planning, family law, real estate. All of these things are important in relation to generational wealth, right? And so let's jump right into it. Let's dive into it. And so we want to just ask you this first question. Who is Krystal Smith? And what inspired you to become a lawyer?
Okay. Krystal Smith, she's a lot of things, but I will say first and foremost, she is a proud Black woman. She's from Virginia, Norfolk, Virginia, the 757. I am a business owner. I'm a wife. I'm the caretaker for my dad. I'm a proud dog mom of a pit bull, Apollo Creed, Watson Smith.
Okay.
Apollo Creed, yes, my dog.
I love it.
Character from Rocky.
Dog,
Yeah, so I can keep going. An attorney, business owner, and the reason why I decided to become a lawyer is because I was in college. I went to a historically Black college, Norfolk State University. Behold the green and gold. We're in the same conference as South Carolina State. Now, I married a bulldog, and I give him a pass for that, but I digress. So I was at Norfolk State. I was a history major. I thought I was going to be a history teacher or a principal or something to that effect. So I took a couple of pre-law classes, constitutional history, not knowing I wanted to be a lawyer at that point. But I learned about this landmark Supreme Court decision, the Brown versus Board of Education, 1954 decision, and it just changed my life. I realized that one court case, the lawyers that all the NAACP lawyers that worked on that court case changed this world permanently. Before that court case, you and I could not sit in the same classroom with, white students. It was against the law. You couldn't do it. We had segregation, as we know, and that was the case that broke down segregation in this country, from schools to restaurants and so on and so forth. So I said, I want to be a part of a profession where I can make not only a change in one person, but systemic change, change for the entire community. And so that's been my journey. And I wish I was in my office. I'm working from home this week, but I have a picture of the Brown versus Board of Education decision behind me. I always have it in my office wherever I am to remind me of why I decided to join the profession. So.
Oh, okay. Man, listen, Krystal, you already have said a couple things that we have to really catch that I think are important. Please. One, you from Norfolk, right, Virginia?
Norfolk, Virginia. So
I know some folk. I know some people from Norfolk and Hampton. What's it called? Yeah, Hampton. So I know coming from there, you had to be strong. You had to have a backbone. You ain't, what I'm saying? I know that about Norfolk. So I know you have that grittiness or that you needed, to fight for people. So that's one thing. Yeah. Number two, I know all about the Trey 4. Don't get, because all my people in Greensboro. So I know about Winston State. Man, has so many friends. I spent a lot of days and nights on that campus. So again, it's so great to see people like you. And then you did it all black. You came through a HBCU, and now you're right here. And that's amazing to see, right. And especially for young black women. And I don't find it strange that that's one of the first things you said. You're a proud black woman, and it shows. That leads me to this. You talked about that case. Man, that set us back as people. It really set us back. We really didn't have anything. We built everything from the ground up. There's a lot that we'll dive into that has not been handed to us. That some things that are maybe normalized for others are not for us. And it causes us to have to scrape and scrap and get this knowledge. It leads me to like generational wealth. And one key form of generational wealth is real estate being passed down. So explain to us why real estate is so important, and some of your expertise in that.
So primarily, the thing to know about real estate is that it's an asset. It appreciates over time, as opposed to other things that we buy and that we praise a lot, which are cars. Those depreciate. We always hear, if you buy a brand new car, you drive off the lot, it depreciates in value. You hit something, you're not going to get the full value of what you paid for with the insurance company. We know that. But with a house, a piece of land, one thing to know that every piece of land is unique because it's sitting in a particular place. It has its own unique characteristics. So it's not like any other piece of land, and it appreciates over time. And so I see a lot of that in Spartanburg, in certain areas that are changing and evolving. It's like you have to, if you own a piece of property, I own an investment property right behind C.C. Woodson. I have had people offer to buy the property from me, and I'm like, absolutely not. I'm going to keep it. And whatever happens to that neighborhood, hopefully the value of my property will continue to increase. And
what's your end game in that? What's your
good question. So you never know if you need to, for example, borrow money. I mean, like if you lose everything, you lose your job or whatever you have as income, what if you need to borrow money? You can always have it as a piece of collateral where you can borrow from it. You can borrow from the equity on it. Or, I mean, honestly, I would just like to hold on to it until if the neighborhood changes and the value goes up tremendously, then I could make a profit. But that piece of property my dad gave to me, so I have a little more sentimental value with that piece of property. But ultimately, you have options. So right now I'm renting it out. And so in the course of, transition me going from a big firm to leaving a firm to having my own business, I still have other sources of income that I can count on because I have a piece of property. So I could have easily sold it, and then that money just evaporates these days. So it's almost like
Dad is the MVP because he gave it to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's sentimental, but when you think about just like when people invest in the stock market, it's the long-term gain for that too, right? So why wouldn't it be the same for real estate? They tell you put your money in the stock market, sometimes it'll, the market will go up and down and fluctuate, but if you keep your money in it, eventually, it'll go back up. The same thing with the housing market. Housing market goes down, you just, just keep steady with it, and then it'll go back up.
Thank you. That's great. That's wonderful. I know with real estate, when I was learning about different inequities and community states, one of the main ones that stood out to me was California, and the whole topic of redlining and banking discrimination, in which if you was Black, you wasn't allowed to get a loan amount to be able to afford a house in a certain neighborhood, and they will only give you certain loans that was conditioned towards run down houses or less than than the white people or other groups who they would lend more money to. And so basically, let's talk about fair housing real quick. A law that was put into place to protect people from discrimination when they're renting or buying a home, getting a mortgage, seeking housing assistance, or engaging in other housing-related activities. In South Carolina, how is fair housing in South Carolina and the Spartanburg market?
So I think as a whole, I think the city of Spartanburg, we do a good job in trying to make sure that at least there isn't an appearance of it. I mean, for example, I'll be specific. We have a hotline. I know that we have people that will take calls from people who think they've been discriminated upon. And I've had, people call me to say, what can we do? What are our options? So it is very good to hear that there are some people in the city that care about this subject. But one thing this might not be answering your question, but this is something I've observed. It's when you're dealing with fair housing based on race, most of the time it's never overt, it's never direct. No one is going to boldly tell you, now they may, but they won't boldly say, look, I don't want to rent to you, or I don't want to sell you my house because you're Black. I mean, that's like a smoking gun. People know not to do that. So a lot of times what you experience is something indirect, something implied, something that you and I know. If I told you the experience that my husband and I had when we were looking to buy a house, when we were getting married, that that was because we were Black, so I can be specific. Yeah. We went to a subdivision looking, just looking around on Saturday. We both had on jeans and, nice top or whatever. And the lady outright flat out asked, like, well, what do you do for a living? And I don't like to say what I do for a living unless I absolutely have to. And in my head, I'm thinking to myself, I wonder if she would have asked that if someone that didn't look like us asked, because of course, the minute I told her what I did, she was super helpful. But even then, going to your statement about redlining, she took us to a subdivision that we were not interested in because I guess she thought that's what we could afford. Do you see how indirect that is?
Right.
And to the point it hit me when we got home, I said, wait a minute. I think we were just victims of discrimination. And honestly, I could have filed a complaint against her because she was sitting, how if you go to a subdivision, they have a real estate agent sitting, they sit there and then they show you around or whatever. And I mean, I'm sure that if she's doing that to other people, and that's not right. And so it exists to answer your question, but you have to really, it's more hidden. It's not just in your face like it was when those fair housing rules were put in place. And that's why, but I think it's not because they mean to do it. I think this goes into the Karens that we talk about now. I think it's just in their mindset to think they don't have any money, so don't waste my time. I need to know.
Right. But the sad thing is though, is that we go for that a lot because a lot of times most people, and that's why I think information and the knowledge is so important because, man, there are a lot of us who are like, hey, what's the cheapest house I can get? You know, that's how we go into everything. You know, we don't mind the neighborhood. We don't mind, you know, because enough of us are not prepared. Enough of us don't understand, you know, and we find ourselves in a position to where we have to do just enough to get the least, you know, and to us, oh man, we made it. You know, we made it, you know, and I mean, you know, and I don't knock that because me and my wife were like that. You know, we had to get on course, but then the more you learn, the more you start learning about assets, you start realizing, wait, I can utilize this and you know, for money on the back end, I can leverage bank, I can leverage credit, I can, you know, but we don't necessarily know those things. So I'm glad that we are really starting to, you know, turn the page and get this knowledge. But one thing I do want to ask, because now you have a lot of us, like we talked about, who we had to scrap, we had to scrape. A lot of us are first time home buyers. Like in our whole family, you know what I'm saying? There was one other person in my family that I know bought a house that I know, you know? And so it's like, now we are finding ourselves in this position, especially with the impact of COVID. Many people are facing evictions and foreclosures. What is, or is there something that we may be missing that we can give to the people to say, hey, here's some assistance, here's going to help you. We don't want to set us back, because any times I'm noticing you're either taking off and thriving or you're sinking, you know, and I think it's both. So is there something in place that can help people who may be struggling with that right now?
Okay, so let's unpack that question. There is, and I wrote it down because I couldn't tell you what the acronym is. There's the CARES Act, CARES, CARES. So that's Coronavirus Aid, Relief, Economic Security Act. So under the CARES Act, if you probably heard a lot of people saying, oh, well, you can't get evicted, you can't, you know, they can't foreclose and stuff like that. So I really want to take this opportunity to make sure we all understand the parameters of that. So let's first talk about homeowners. So if you own your house, you bought your house, you have a mortgage. If you are in the unfortunate situation where you are struggling financially to make your mortgage payment because of some, you know, it's corona related, you lost your job, your hours are cut, or whatever the case may be, the first question you have to look at is what type of mortgage do you have? If you have a federally backed mortgage, and you ever hear these terms, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, a VA loan, a FHA loan, what's the other one, USDA loan? These are basically like federal loans. If you have that kind of mortgage, then you have a lot more options right now under the CARES Act. So you can actually go and contact your mortgage company and say, hey, I've had like a coronavirus related setback financially. Can I have a forbearance? Now, if anybody in the world, we all know that word from student loans. Most of us know that. But in this sense, you're not getting any forgiveness. So this is what I want to stress in this platform. No one is forgiving your mortgage payment. They're just postponing it. And so the thing is, with these type of federal loans, they will postpone it for up to 180 days. That's a long time. And so then if you still are suffering financially, you can extend it for one more time at another 180 days. So
they're going to balloon those payments, or is it just stops?
That's the good question, because, you know, this thing happens so fast. I don't think that there's a set rule about that. That's where you have to have that, what I like to call, come to Jesus meeting with your mortgage company, because you don't want to just say, hey, let me just take advantage of this, because then that's exactly what could happen. They could possibly say, okay, well, we gave you this forbearance for, you know, a whole year, basically. So now, boom, you need to make this lump sum payment, and now you lose your house in that way. Or what you really need to do is ask specific questions like that. Say, listen, I need this forbearance, but I need to understand what happens after the forbearance. Like, are you going to tack it to the end of my loan? You know, are you going to spread it out? What are you going to do? Because I always try to tell people, these are banks, okay? They're in the business of making money. They're not your friend. They're not, I mean, they're just in the business of making money. And so even if you get these forbearances, then you still have that regular interest that you would normally have, but they can't charge you or penalize you. That's what you're hearing a lot. So they, you know, like if you miss a regular mortgage payment, interest, they're penalizing you, there's late fees. Those things are not going to be there. Now, here's the kicker. For people who don't have like a federally backed mortgage, they don't have that guarantee under the CARES Act. The CARES Act basically just governs like federal loans. So if you have a private loan, then you can call them and ask, but I hate to say, you're going to be subject to whatever they're willing to give you. And that's the hard truth. But it's important to know that, because there are people who, like, for example, if you buy a house, if you look at your closing paperwork, it'll tell you, what kind of loan you have. But if you had to go to like a class, like a first-time home buyers class or something like that, the odds are you probably have some type of federally subsidized loan if you're not sure. But if you really are not sure, call the mortgage company. Don't make assumptions. So my big takeaway is, if you can afford to make the mortgage payment, make the mortgage payment. Gotcha. But if you can't, then there are options out there. So that's
this is
wow.
good.
That's good. That's good. Now I know there's some people out here that it's kind of hard for them to maneuver when it comes to, calling mortgage companies, and they'll listen and take whatever word, that the first word that the person gives. And is there anybody local like yourself that people in Spartanburg could reach out to if they are facing evictions or foreclosure?
Absolutely. We have a lot of good options. So, first off, I do offer free 30-minute consultations. So I would be happy to talk to somebody. Anybody can book a consultation with me at my website, right at the very top. But also South Carolina Legal Services, the law firm that I worked at prior to me starting my own law practice, that's the legal aid for the state of South Carolina. They are, I always say we, because I was there for so long, but, they really are on the ground as it relates to evictions. Most private attorneys will tell you, when it comes to evictions, the legal aid office is, on top of things, and they know what the laws are and things of that nature, which is why I kind of have that background, because I was there so long. But there are also other attorneys in the area too. I definitely think the big takeaway is, don't just, if you're concerned or you're not sure, consult an attorney for sure. And I can give you, after we finish this, I can email you with all the phone numbers to the legal aid office. You have my website, and then also there's a South Carolina lawyer referral service that's powered by the South Carolina Bar, where basically a person can contact that referral service, say what kind of problem they have, and then they can get referred to an attorney in their area that handles that particular subject matter, such as that.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
No, this has been like exactly what we needed. In just a second, we're going to switch lanes, and I really am ready for you to dive into what we're going to talk about next, y'all. Y'all do not want to miss this. There's going to be some good information. I don't think a lot of people are really versed in it. I don't think so, but we'll find out soon. More from Krystal Smith right after this quick commercial break. Life Behind the Art. Yep.
Let's go.
We all want to be successful. You should strive to do that. Do it your way. Keep yourself original, stay humble. Stay humble. I can't stress that enough. Keep yourself humble. Ultimately, just leave a legacy. Be remembered. We call that SOAR. Anytime you see me, got that eagle on me. That's how I know I'm fly, cause that eagle on me. Way above the storm, I can see it though. But the way we move won't get a wrinkle on me. Only few fly high enough to soar with me. A few more last long enough to bore in me. Show you how to be successful, I need that. If you're original, you don't require feedback. Be humble, baby, stay humble. Don't never give them a chance to take it from you, I choose to be remembered, so remember that. God gave us wings to spread, like whose wind is that? If you believe in yourself, how can they scare you? Learn to receive everything God can mail you. You are the truth, that's true, in case they dare you. While you're living out your legacy, they're looking at your apparel, so.
Yeah. Make sure y'all go get y'all sword shirts, baby. This the old one, but don't worry about it. Go get your sword shirt.
Quick plug.
We now, that's right. Quick plug. We now know that we need to own some real estate, man. You own that land, then you have an asset. You have some options for your family. It is you own that land. It's hard to gentrify when everybody qualified, baby. So we need to learn how to own it.
Ownership.
We have it, that we can utilize it. Man, we doing these susus and all this, man. Listen, susu some property, all right? You get your money up, use that group, them flowers, and you grow some property. When you own that, man, you have power behind it. Man, let's do that. Let's get property. So, News, what you got for us next, man? Take us in a different direction.
That's right. So right now we're about to transition into estate planning. This was really foreign to me. before I got with my financial advisor. Vertus Bennett, real cool cat from Greenville. Check him out if you're in need for a financial advisor. Check him out. He's great. Black. I mean, real cool, real cool. And it don't matter that he's black. He knows what he's talking about. He got relationships, and it's a plus that he's black. All right, and so we're about to move on to estate planning. Like, can you let the people know, Krystal, what is estate planning and why is it so important?
So the easiest way to define estate planning is planning ahead for what is going to happen with your property, everything that you own in the event of your passing. That's in a nutshell what it is. And why is it important? If you care about the people that you leave behind, then it's important. I cannot express to you how many times I see people don't take the necessary precautions to plan for that. And then they, for example, it could be an elderly woman, her husband paid all the bills. I know this sounds, like this is the 50s, but this happens still to this day. He paid all the bills, he handled everything, and then he passes away. There's no life insurance money. There's nothing to say what's supposed to happen, and she loses her house. The house that, and I say that because I've represented this type of person time at the time. And these banks, I'm emphasizing it again, these banks are vicious when it comes to getting their money. Like they will put, if they have to, an old lady out on the street. I've seen it happen. They want their money. And so you have to say, if you're like married, for example, you have a spouse, you have children, you want to make sure that everything is cared for. So for example, I'll give you the best example that's an easy way to start estate planning. If you're going to go and buy a house with your spouse, so my husband and I bought a house. The first thing that I insisted is that when we take title to the property, that we have survivorship rights. And most people do not know that unless the attorney explains that to them. So right now, the deed to our house says his husband and wife, my husband in my name, as joint tenants with full rights of survivorship, not as tenants in common. That's magic language in South Carolina. So what does that mean? That means that even though we may not ever have a will done, right? Let's just hypothetically speaking, if something happened to me, then all he has to do is take a copy of my death certificate to the Register of Deeds office where you go and record deeds and stuff. And then my name just falls right off of the property. And he doesn't have to worry about going to probate. He doesn't have to worry about doing anything except for grieving the loss of his wife and vice versa. That is so easy to do. And to the point where I've had, couples where maybe a spouse has cancer or they're sick, and then they're worried about, I'm going to leave and he or she will be mourning me. I don't want them to have to worry about the house or what to do and probate and all of those things. And so, okay, well, let's go ahead and just change your deed. Changing the deed to your property or having that language is an example of what we call a substituted will, meaning that doesn't have to, you don't have to have that in the will if that's going to automatically happen by operation of law. So that's an example. I could talk about this subject all the time because, for example, blended families. Let's say it's your second marriage and, and you both have children from a different relationship. That can get very messy when somebody passes away. Do I need to elaborate? I will. So you have, let's say you have a 20-year-old from your former marriage, and then you pass away, there's no will, then guess what? By operation of law, half of the property goes to your wife, and then the other half goes to that son. Now maybe they don't even like each other. So now they co-owning property together.
And that's the difference if you were like tenants in common, right? It starts breaking down to like percentages of it and
absolutely.
all that.
You're absolutely right. Absolutely. That's why that survivorship rights, it cuts all of that out of the equation. For example, when my grandmother passed in Columbia 2 years ago, and she left her house to my father and his two siblings, I told her, I don't care what you guys do, but put that survivorship language in the deed, because all of you are going to leave here someplace. And at some point, my dad may end up owning the property with my uncle's 20-year-old girlfriend, so these are the reasons why you want to consult an attorney because everybody's situation is different. What's important to everybody is different. A lot of times when you meet with seniors, what's important to them is, I don't want to lose the house that I worked so hard for because I have to go into a nursing home. So a lot of times you need, and that actually goes into, I think, one of the next questions about trust and stuff like that. So everybody's situation is different. But if you're like, I don't care what happens, good luck with everything. Then you don't. That's it. But most of us can't. We work too hard, to own property, and develop wealth while we were living. Don't you want it? Because that's what they're doing. They pass it to the next generation. Why do we have to continue to start from scratch?
All right. So that's exactly precisely what I wanted to say next. Because not only just own the real estate and having the land, but having the prudency to understand how to keep it, how to maintain it, right? Your estate planning. That's one thing we don't do is plan. We don't plan. I got it. It's mine, man. And then we just in there, right? And then, as you say, families and all this stuff, that's important. But I used to wonder this now, Chris. I'm keeping it 100, as the young folks say with you. I used to wonder this, right? How do you, ma'am or sir, and I'm talking about them, I'm talking about our counterpart, just keeping it 100. How do you work at the same place I work at? I mean, we both make $14.72, right? But for some reason, you show me pictures of your house, and it's a picket fence, and it's a 4-story. You like, we're about to get repainted, and I'm like, wow, what do y'all be doing that I'm not? And that used to bother me so much. I couldn't figure it out. And I say, I know we work at the same place because I see you every day. Right? Like, what am I missing? And then I'll learn, man, their first shock of wealth is when somebody dies. Our first shock of debt, real debt, is when somebody dies. You know what I'm saying? And it was backwards. And I'm like, man, okay, so I get it. And they be like, well, we just put $50,000 down on the home. I say, I'm trying to find a bank that's gonna give me that free refrigerator and free blinds. You know what I'm saying?
Washing and drying
with it. Where you getting this 50 from? I remember they asked us when we bought our house. So is anybody gifting you? Gifting me what? They gonna give me a microwave or something. That's later. What you talking about? Right? So what I'm saying is, is that's their first shock of wealth. Well, that leads me to this question: what's the difference between and what is a living will and living trust? And then I guess before you even get into that, go get some life insurance straight off top. All right, that's where the shock of wealth is coming from.
That's what I'm about to say. I'm not ready. Listen, I'm so not ready to transition to the next question. Stay here. You gotta have life insurance. And you know what I tell every client that I do estate planning for? Okay, can you please tell your child or whoever you leaving the life insurance policy to that they need to pay the mortgage with the life insurance? Because a lot of times they think, oh, honey, this is my money. Well, wait a minute, there's responsibilities. And then you look up, they lose the house to a mortgage foreclosure. Announcement, the mortgage does not go away when someone passes away. That mortgage follows the property. That's why it's recorded, it's attached to the land. So then the mortgage company will come back. They will come after the estate so the estate of Krystal Watson would be what's in existence once I pass away or whoever passes away. So they're like, okay, well, she passed. So where's my money? They can
escheat it, right? And they call it escheat or something like that. And they can just take it in.
So what happens is, in that sense, if you don't pay it, then ultimately they can ask the probate court judge to sell the property to get the balance of the money. But I've seen that's why a lot of times these attorneys that represent mortgage companies, they go to the probate court all the time to see if somebody passed. That's not a big deal. They'll just add the estate of and file the foreclosure action as usual. I guess my big takeaway is you do not get a free house just because mama passed away. And so I try so hard to preach that. Like, you got to have life insurance and you got to educate the person that you're giving the life insurance to what they need to do with the money. So
talk about that then. So living will versus living trust. How does that segue into this?
So I think what we're going to have to talk about a last will and testament, because that's what we really want to have. But a living will technically is you telling the world that you want a natural death. In South Carolina, that's what it is. There's other words, declaration of a natural death. That's what technically a living will is. So if, for example, you get into a state of permanent unconsciousness, and this is relevant, I guess, because we're talking about COVID too, with everything going on. If you're on a breath machine and you can't, there's the doctors are saying that he or she's not going to make it. You're telling the world, if you do a living will, and this is South Carolina law I'm speaking of, that you want a natural death. You do not want a machine to keep you living. And that is what we call a part of advanced directives. And that is something that our people, and I mean our people, are really bad at doing. We don't want to think about these things. We think we're just not going to live. We're going to live forever. We don't want to think about these things. And my own mother, she had a stroke at the end of March, and it happened so fast. And so now she's not here. She can't talk. She can't communicate. And the doctors are talking to my sister and I, asking, what do you want to do? Like, it's been 3 days. She's not going to recover. That's an awful, and I'm only sharing this because I don't wish that decision on anybody, to have to figure out what would my mama want. Would she want us to keep her living, even though the doctor says she is never going to be cognitive of anything, but her, her heart is still pumping, she's fine. And so that's what a living will is. And so now when I do them, it means so much more to me. It means to me that you care when you do these documents, you care about the people that are going to be left to make these decisions. So you don't necessarily have to have one of those. Everybody's different. A lot of people in the medical field, like they all are very, I know what I want. I don't want, this or that. But, that is something that is important to discuss with your family. So that's the living will. So with a trust is, the best way to explain that is you have maybe some property that you want to protect for a specific beneficiary. I'll give you an example. If you have an adult child that has maybe some special needs, like on disability, but you want to make sure that that child will always have somewhere to live. Like, you have a house, the child is an adult child that lives with you. A lot of people have this issue that it comes up a lot. The child is living with you, they're on disability. And what happens if you pass away? Then they don't want, for example, the house or anything else that you may leave them to be counted as an asset, and they may lose their disability, or they just may not even be able to handle managing a house and things of that nature. So instead of just leaving the house to your child, for example, in that last will and testament, you put it inside of a trust. And so then it's for the benefit of that person. And then there's a trustee that's assigned to manage it for the benefit of that person.
Got you.
That's what the trust will do.
Okay. And that's protected against like creditors and all that too, right?
That is true too. And I chuckle because there's some parents, and I always say this to people who, for estate planning, your children better than I do. Okay.
You better
know your children. Yeah. So here's the thing. Maybe, just like you said, maybe when you talking through the estate plan with somebody, maybe it isn't a good idea to leave JoJo the house, because JoJo's probably going to sell it.
He ain't going to do right.
JoJo's going to owe a whole bunch of people. And what will happen is if you get sued or something like that, and there's a judgment where you owe, let's just say you owe $10,000 to some First Franklin because you didn't pay them back for the loan. Guess what? That lien, that's going to show up as a lien on that house. So a lot of times people will, put it inside of a trust to protect and things like that as well.
See, now we cook it with grease, because now we're talking about owning the asset, protecting the asset, having trustees, people in line that we have to then pass on knowledge to, have an understanding of the asset. Now we're talking generational. We're talking about carrying the mantle throughout the generation. News, what you got for us, Dave? Where we going next?
So, Krystal, before we hop into the next question, tell us about the last will and testament.
Okay, please. Well, thank you. So it's important to know that if you pass away without a will, like a last will and testament is that's your declaration of what you want to see happen to property that you own in the event of your passing. So let me tell you a couple parameters here in the state of South Carolina. You can, let me say this again, you can disinherit a child. People feel so bad, like if you don't have to leave a child or anything if you don't want to in South Carolina. Take a moment and process that.
Y'all heard that? So, my fault.
You're right.
Listen, now, look, I got my hand out. When it comes to a spouse, That's a different conversation, which is why I told you guys earlier that all of these topics intersect. So you can try to disinherit a spouse, meaning you have a will and you say, well, I don't want to leave my wife, whatever. Maybe you're estranged, because that's more common. You didn't get the divorce, but you hadn't been together for 10 years. So you think, I'm going to get this will, right? So that way, because if I don't have a will, what happens? She gets the house, or at least a portion of the house, depending upon whether or not you have children. So you write her out this will. People do it. Okay. So the kicker is, if the wife is smart enough to go talk to a lawyer, then the lawyer will tell her, you have a right to opt for what we call your elective share. So she can just he or she can just ask for a third of your estate just by law. Like, oh, no, he or she left me out the will. I get a third.
Oh, wow.
Like that.
So what is the moral of this story? If you have an estranged spouse that you hadn't been with and you just like, oh, I just don't have the money to get the divorce, you need to get the divorce. You will be surprised how many people I've spoken to, people, they have cancer and they have so many, months, and they're trying to get their affairs in order. And I'm like, well, I can do the will and you can leave everything to your son, but I have to advise them that if your husband talks to the right person, he's going to file a petition, with the probate court, and he's going to get a third of your estate because you're still legally married.
Oh man, so that kind of answered the next one. I don't think old girl from Power, I don't think she knew that. That's good. Way different. She would have said, "Hold on now, let me call this law because I know
that's a really good example. That's a good example.
Yeah.
Now, again, this is South Carolina law, so I wish we could put the disclaimer. I'm only giving you South Carolina law. So where are they in New York? Have no idea what they can do in New York, but that is a very good example of what I'm saying. So you can. So that's why it's important to have a will, because you get to dictate who you want to leave your things to. Otherwise, the law of South Carolina will dictate. Most people will have, if you look at it's like a pecking order. So if you have a wife, no children, your wife gets, or spouse, your spouse gets everything. If you have a spouse and children, again, we discussed, then it's half. So the spouse gets 50%, and then however many children you have gets the other 50%. Right.
So, Krystal, I have a real quick question about common law marriage, right? So how is someone able to protect their assets that are in a common law marriage? How does that work?
So listen,
common law split.
I'm glad that you asked that question, because a couple years ago I would have brought that up, but I am so happy to report that the state of South Carolina has finally abolished common law marriage.
Wow.
So
some of y'all ain't married no more, didn't you?
Yeah, right.
No, but here's the thing. So if you can prove that you were married to somebody under the common law here in the state of South Carolina before that law passed, then you're still in. So basically, when I used to talk to people like home ownership, and stuff like that, I would always preach, please, 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 please do not buy a house and move a girlfriend or boyfriend in. That's the worst thing that you can do in South Carolina. Trust me. Wow. They know the law. They know about common law marriage. And I'm like, that's the worst thing to do to yourself, because then you break up, and then guess who's going to be hollering that, wait a minute.
Boy, that's tough there. That's how people on snap right there.
Yeah. So how long do they have to live together for it to be considered common law marriage?
I'm glad you asked that, because that is the one factor that most people know, but there's so many other factors. When it comes to common law marriage, it really comes down to intent. Like, did you intend to be married, right? So that means, did you send out Christmas cards together, like Mr. and Mrs. Smith? Did you take your name, your last name? Did you file taxes together? And I'm telling you, now I know this is tax season. I'm telling you, that is one of the worst things that some of these tax preparers have done to people. Like, just file, like when common law marriage was still legal, you can file married, and so that they would get the tax incentive. But now either there's a family court judge that in a common law trial, like it was a real thing. Like, people could assert common law marriage, and then, there was a trial, or, the judge would have to make a decision on whether or not it exists. In one instance, one of the pieces of evidence that the person that was advocating for the common law marriage had was they filed taxes together as husband and wife.
Yeah.
So it's a factor. So it's not necessarily like if you live together for 10 years, you know, boom, you're married. Like it's very circumstantial. It depends on the individual case, but that is one of the common issues. You definitely have to live together, but it's the intention. Like, did you call each other wife and husband on Facebook where they can print out those Facebook messages?
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Man, listen, no, that's good stuff, man. Where you going, babe? Finna go to Kinko's and get these cars sent out.
Right.
Listen, some stuff changing now. No, that is good information. I mean, I think she kind of answered, you know, what our next question. You want to go to 8? I think we can go to 8.
Yeah,
I think she kind of tried to answer that.
Yeah, that was good.
Hey guys, we're winding down. This is so good. We're trying to keep it within our. We got 12 minutes. Stick with us, y'all.
Right. And I know yeah, I'm seeing that some questions come through as well, and so we trying to hold on to the end. And if we have enough time, we'll get to the questions.
Okay, so we'll do these quickly. So what is the first step? Just to be pretty brief, what is the first step someone should take to establish an estate plan? And then we'll answer some of you guys' questions.
Consult an attorney. That's the easy question. You need to talk to an attorney because sometimes you don't know what you don't know. If you follow that.
Okay.
All
right. Let's see. So let's get to a quick question real quick. They have a question about living trust. How can a living trust be set up without being so expensive?
Yeah, because they're expensive now, right? Wills are more expensive later. The trusts are expensive now, right?
Right. It's worth the money. I mean, I think we need to, I hate to say I'm not answering that question, but I'm trying to shift the mindset to say it's worth the money to invest in it. It's worth it. Take my word for it.
Okay. So it's going to cost. So it's going to cost.
Right. You know, like, with anything, if you cut corners, you get what you pay for. So that's
but you know what, though? I guess it depends on what you have. That's the importance of us acquiring assets that we feel are worth it. You know what I'm saying? Like if you have something you feel is like, and I guess, you know, if I got a million, you know what I'm saying? If I have something that I feel is more value, I'm going to be more ample to put behind it. But great question though.
Right.
Do you have another question?
And another question, how do you set up a family trust that helps manage a family estate?
I mean, I hate to go with talking to an attorney again, but every case is different. So I would need to know exactly what's in the family estate. What exactly are you trying to put in the trust, and then who's going to be the beneficiary of the trust? But in essence, it's just a document, a legal document that's prepared where you would transfer ownership from whoever owned the property to the trust. So the way to look at it is, instead of Krystal Smith owning a piece of property, it will be the trust of, you know, the Krystal Smith Trust. So that's
what about businesses like an LLC? Same thing.
Yeah, it's just like it changed, like a different entity. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Gotcha. No, that's great. I'm glad you asked that. Good question, because so it's a document. So it's just a matter of planning.
Right.
Okay.
And make
sure that in your plans. Okay.
And everyone, make sure you go to klawsllc.com for more information. If after this, if we don't have enough time to discuss everything in depth that you would like to know, make sure you reach out to Krystal. klawsllc.com and set up your free 30-minute consultation. It's free for the first 30 minutes.
First 30 minutes.
Make sure you take care of that. All
if
right.
31, it's over for you. I'm saying that now. No, look. Can you answer this real quick, and then we'll get into our quick fire, and then we'll wrap it up, guys. So, but just you could just kind of combine all these last questions, and then we'll get straight into our quick fire. Just what is family law, and what do you do for us in family law, so we know what to call you about if someone needs your services.
So I have been calling myself this for quite some time. I'm a creature of family court, meaning, I mean, that's where I practice the majority of the time is in family court. Now, family court is everything involving, you know, children. So, for example, custody, adoptions. Then you also have, of course, divorces, legal name changes. You have order of protections for domestic abuse between partners, like people who are married or live together or have children, everything. I mean, I hate to say it's it's a lot that intersects. If you recall, we talked about every time we had a conversation, we kind of went into some type of family law discussion.
Right.
Like the common law marriage, for example, you know, when we're talking about somebody who we've had before common law marriage was abolished, a lot of the issues in common law marriage would, believe it or not, would come up when someone passes away. Because like now, let's say, you know, how we refer to shacking up. So if you live with somebody in a house and then the person passes away, now their family wants you out of the house. The best way to protect you from getting out of the house is to say, oh no, I was married to this person under common law. I have rights. So then now that's going to kick you into where? Family court.
Okay, there it is, guys. So, I mean, we know to call on Miss Krystal Smith for all of our needs, real estate, estate planning, family law. I believe that, again, you are truly a gem in our community. This is Spartanburg, y'all. This all this high level talk y'all hear. This is Spartanburg County, right? And she's available for 30 minutes. Some of y'all, you know, it's hard for me to talk to you for 30 minutes. So, I mean, I know how that go. I'm telling you right now, she's saying, holler at me for 30 minutes. Let's focus on it, y'all. Let's get some assets, man. This real estate. Y'all know what's going on, south side, north side. Y'all see how they're swarming in, y'all. This stuff is about to be gone. It's not going to belong to us. So we need to start buying it up. We need to figure out how to pool up together, get some ownership in it. Because guess what? When they come through, that price going to raise up. We're going to say, what you want to pay, baby? What you want to pay for it? You're going to have to, you owe us something this time. So, and then we can put it all in order. We just go to clause. You can call it clause, LLC, K-Law. You can call it KLAWS, Lilic, whatever you want to call it. Y'all see it, all right? Make sure y'all go to her.
Hey, Kayla, my wife said she just booked the consultation.
She's
selling.
That's what I'm talking about. No, because I know why. Because you said something about common law too many times. She said, "Okay, I got some views." And you was acting like you was. I said, "Y'all married for real, ain't you?" Because you asking a lot of questions, man. So she on you, yeah. I know what that was.
We got that license, baby. We got that license.
Just get married.
Yeah. Hey, real quick before we transition into quick fire, we're talking about real estate ownership. Now, Krystal, is Opportunity Zone Funds something that you help establish? Opportunity Zone Funds?
I have not heard as much about that here locally, so I'm interested to learn more. I know what they are, but I'm interested to know. We have those here in Spartanburg,
right? So that's capital tax
right
breaks. Yeah. So these are certain areas in private communities where investors invest in. They get capital tax breaks, right? Parts of the south side, parts on the north side, Highland. You have some near the airport road area, and one going that's off the highway up 85. And so mainly, opportunity zones are in low income communities, right? But the ones that have the capital for these projects are mainly not from our community. So you get a lot of projects coming in that are marketplace, housing, apartments, and all these things that can raise taxes in a community when people are already struggling to afford the taxes. And so we got one part. I know of this great guy. He's over the Black Opportunity Zone Fund. Named Stefan. He's real great. It's called the Black Opportunity Zone Fund. And all he needs is a plan presented to him, and they have about $30 million that they can use to invest in a minority-led project, right? And
so let's do this. So we need to make sure we get him and maybe someone that can really help us with that information on as well. And then we know how to protect it through K-Laws, So, I mean, I think that is, I didn't mean to cut you off, Luz. I'm just saying, I just wanted to make sure we put that out there. We need to have that conversation.
And if I could interject, I would love to be a part of that conversation because I do real estate closings too. So if someone is buying property, they can see me about doing their loan closing, because you definitely need an attorney to do that. That's actually required in the state of South Carolina. You cannot, you have to have a South Carolina licensed attorney to do your real estate closing when you purchase property, especially if
You know
you
what I'm
use
saying?
it wrong.
Gotcha.
That's why we need each other. We got 3 minutes, y'all. Let's hit these quick fire real fast. Man, that's why we need each other, y'all. This has been great. Krystal Smith, y'all see it. Clause LLC. .com. I coined that. So anytime you say that, you owe me 25 cents, baby. Clause LLC. All right, let's jump into this quick fire real quick. News, you may go first. You may go first.
Jump it off.
All right.
Go ahead.
Ms. Krystal, if you could change, you can only answer this no more than one sentence.
Oh.
One word or one sentence. Yeah, that's the twist. Here we go. If you could change one thing about Spartanburg, what would it be?
More affordable housing.
Okay. That's good. What's your favorite thing to do after a long day of work?
Okay, confession, I like to drink a glass of wine.
Okay.
Just relax.
Ain't never wrong with that.
Just to wind down.
Right. You got to wind down. Right.
Wind down.
What keeps you motivated?
I don't know how to answer that except for saying I think the strength of my mother and both of my grandmothers, they're all gone, and I just feel this connection from them. They were all powerhouse women, and I just feel like I am fueled by them and being able to do the things that they weren't able to do. They were business owners and things of that nature in a time where it was really hard to do that. And so I feel like I have to do it for them. I got to make them proud. I know they're looking down on me, and I just want to make sure that they're smiling in heaven.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's powerful. If you had $1 million in cash, what are the first 3 things you would do?
Well, I would first pay off my student loan debt.
Okay. Student loan debt. You got to get rid of that. Number 2.
Get those shackles off of me.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I would pay off the mortgage on my house, and then the mortgage on my investment property.
We had a little connection.
There it is.
Hello. There we go. We back.
Okay, we back. We back. That means the thing know when it's time for the end. Real quick, if you, I got a couple quick. What type of house would you prefer? Modern, ranch, or contemporary? Your dream home. Which one would it be?
Oh my God. What's contemporary? I think contemporary, right? What's that looks like? What does that look like?
Oh, maybe that's modern. Maybe that's the same. Modern or ranch?
Modern. Yeah.
Modern.
Yeah, I need some space. I need some space.
Okay. I got one more before I final thing. This is, I don't know if you can. What wouldn't you defend your husband for in law?
Wait, what?
What's one thing that you would not defend your husband for as a lawyer?
Well, honey, clearly a divorce. That's what.
Okay.
Good else. They could have went a lot of ways.
Okay. Yeah. She like, I ain't gonna sit up there and help you. Okay. And last but not least, this is always how we end the news.
If you had one last message to leave to the world, what would it be?
I did my best. To help people. That's what I set out to do. And I hope that everyone knows that when I leave this earth, Krystal did the best that she could to help everybody that she could. Did the best.
Wow. Man. Wow.
Listen, man, that's amazing. You have been an incredible guest. We love your energy. This has been a special episode of Life Behind the Art. Y'all, what was it? Family law, real estate, and estate planning. Y'all remember clausellc.com. Y'all get y'all 30-minute consultation.
30 minutes.
I have a new friend now. I'm gonna be your friend. If anything pop up, I'm gonna say y'all better call my lawyer.
That's right.
Just so you know, I'm gonna say y'all call my lawyer for that. I'm just gonna be saying it for no reason, like for no reason at all. And then get my lawyer on the phone. She gonna be like, hey, can you stop telling people to call me, man? You can't talk to her for more than 30 minutes though. But call my lawyer.
Right.
No, you have been absolutely incredible. Awesome. Thank you for all the information. Thank you for being such a strong Black woman. Thank you for being such an example for all these young women who this is what we do this for. We just strive to find out who people are and how they are part of this community and how we all interject.
That's
I
right.
think we are all happy to know you now. So thank you,
Yes.
friends.
Absolutely.
This is my
Thank you,
lawyer
Krystal.
right here, y'all.
Yeah.
Y'all know my lawyer.
Yeah.
Name's Krystal.
Elephant
We
Group
love
lawyer.
y'all.
Yeah.
Yep. And we coming
Yes,
back
sir.
next. Yeah. See, that's good, Lord. We coming back next Tuesday,
So
y'all.
I see
7
people
p.m.
people come in and saying they done scheduled, their consultation. So make sure you got any questions, anything you need to know, reach out to klawsllc.com. 30-minute consultation, and I'm pretty sure you'll be opting in for more time after that conversation. So
Right.
make sure you reach
Right
out.
behind the art,
Right
y'all.
behind
See
the
y'all
art.
next week. Same time, same channel, 7 p.m. We are Elephant Group. I am Siege. That's News. That's our
Yes,
lawyer.
sir.
And we out.
We out.
All right.
Bye.